Good evening. I'm Randy Rosenbloom, and welcome to SoCal Prep Report. Of course, tonight we're going to hone in on the state basketball championships. Corona Centennial won the boys' championship in the state of California. What a record, 33-1, winning their final 30 games. Josh Giles, their fine head coach, will join us in a moment. And on the girls' side, Sierra Canyon won the state championship. These are the open division titles. Juju Watkins, their star, had a big game, and they won the state crown. We're going to be joined by Connor Morrissette. He's our co-host tonight. And the other co-host is Tony Moskal. So let's first bring in Connor Morrissette. I know, Connor, you were in Sacramento. What was your greatest takeaway from the state championship?
Randy, thank you, first of all, for having me on. Appreciate it. The greatest takeaway, I thought the fact that Corona Centennial on an off night for them was able to battle back against Modesto Christian. They were up 14, and then Modesto Christian fought back, tied it 46-46. Corona Centennial, like they've done all season, executed well at the end of the game, went on a 13-4 run to win. And my biggest takeaway was just that when the money was on the table, the Huskies took it, and they're open division state champs. I was really impressed with them in a game where maybe they didn't play their best basketball. Playing in an NBA arena can be tough for some teams who aren't used to that. They ended up getting the job done at the end of the night to win. That was my biggest takeaway.
My money line for the Huskies would be when the money's on the line, they have the best backcourt in the state in McCain and Dent, and they took over the game in the last couple minutes. Tony Moskal, your thoughts about the state championships?
I just think it's great that Southern California represented so well. And we had seen Corona Centennial a couple times this year. And just what a tremendous amount of talent. And you know, once again, a great job by Josh, you know, to put together you've got that much talent on a team and they play so well together. And that's just a credit. And I'm going to ask some questions about that as we get, further on in this episode with the me type of kids in today's all athletics. But man, that is a cohesive unit that they've got down there in Corona.
They've won the CIF Southern Section Championship the last 2 years. They didn't go for it last year because of the COVID situation, and they played in an alternative tournament, but they did win the CIF Championship. This year, they win the CIF Open Division again and go on to win the state title. So let's bring in their head coach, Josh Giles. Coach, first and foremost, congratulations on both the CIF Southern Section crown and the state title. And I'll open this. Connor said he didn't think you played all that well in the championship game against Modesto Christian. Well, is he right? And if he is right, isn't that a testimony to how good your team really is?
Yeah, well, first off, thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. But no, I think Connor's dead on. I mean, that was far from our best game. I think that, unfortunately, we can't use the big arena as an excuse because that was our third game this year in an NBA arena. So we had been there and done that a little bit. I think that our struggle was more of the fact that this was our last game together as a group. And I felt like the guys, they knew that, they understood that. And I didn't do a great job of recognizing this, but I think the kind of the moment, like the pressure of the situation, knowing like we've accomplished all these things, we've won all these games, and now this is the last one and we want to go out with a win. It was almost like we were playing not to lose. And when you play not to lose, that's exactly what's going to happen. And in the last 3.5 minutes in that timeout, like there were some things that happened in that timeout that I'll never, ever forget. And it just speaks to the makeup and the character of the kids that we had on the team.
Can you share that, what they went through in that final timeout that you guys talked about?
Yeah. I mean, I felt like all throughout the game, like we were stressed out the entire game. You could see it in their faces. Even when we got up by 14 to start off the third quarter, Modesto Christian called the timeout, and you could see it in the timeout. We just weren't relaxed. We weren't playing like ourselves. And I just felt like there's a lot of pressure on them. Like, they wanted it so bad that they just were kind of we were getting in our own way. We had some ridiculously bad turnovers that we just don't have. We had a couple, defensive assignments, missed box outs. I mean, there was, we were talking about it at halftime, and it was like, we haven't made mistakes like this all year, fellas. And now we're doing it in the state championship game. So they were just stressed, it seemed like, and just not comfortable, not themselves. And then in that last timeout, that was the first time in the entire game that I felt like all that it just went away, and they were completely confident. I think they were a little pissed off, to be honest, that they were in that situation. And all of a sudden they went from looking stressed out the entire game to they had the utmost confidence. And it was like, I think there was 8,000 people at that game, probably 7,500 at least were rooting against us. And they had made this big run, and Connor was there. I mean, it got loud in there, and it was like, everybody wants us to lose. Like, this is crazy. And so, it was definitely a road game for us. And it just kind of felt like everybody was against us, and that we were, like, just nobody really wanted us to win. And then in that circumstance, state championship game, they've gone on a run, 3.5 minutes to go, tie game, and now complete calm. And they were like, all right, here we go. This is what we're going to do. And they walked out of there totally confident. And then Donovan Dent made some huge plays, and then Jared made a big, big three. It was 52-50. I want to say there's about 2:15 to go, and we ran a play for Jared, and he buried a three to put us up by 5. And then Donnie gets another rebound and an assist, and we kind of broke it open there. But to finish the game off on an 11-2 run when you really hadn't played your best game, to do that in the last 3 minutes of a state final just speaks to their, the character of those kids.
Connor, I know you have a question for the coach.
Yes, I do. Josh, great to see you. Congratulations. Donovan was so big down the stretch in that game. And I know, like you said, Jared hit the big shot. But to me, the difference, the guy who really calmed it down was Donovan out of the timeout. How important was he not only at the end of the game to win the state championship, but all season long?
Yeah, I mean, I think that he had some really, really big games for us, and he played like a senior. He was the reigning Open Division CIF Player of the Year, the Riverside County Player of the Year, and I felt like he really played like that. And there's a couple things that we talk about a lot, and I think one of the main things that we always stress is, the best players and the best teams are at their best when their best is needed. And Donnie seemed to really always do that, for the most part. I mean, I know he has one game this year that he would love to have back, but for the most part, like, when he, when we needed his best, he was at his best. And in that last 3.5 minutes, I mean, he came out of the timeout, he had the tough layup finish, and then they came down and they have like a box set play that they run. That's the exact same play that Sierra Canyon runs. And, he saw it. We worked on it. We had scouted it. We had done it in shoot around and practice leading up to it. And his man was on the opposite side, and he left his man and broke on that pass to the top of the key. He read it perfect, kind of a gambling play. You definitely don't draw that up in the huddle. Hey, leave your man on the weak side and go sprint, up here and steal the ball at the top of the key. But he read it perfect, breakaway layup. Now we're up 4. Little things like that. I think he finished the last 3.5 minutes of the game. One of my coaches told me he had 4 points. He had 3 assists, 3 rebounds, and 2 steals in the last 3 minutes of the game. And that's, be at your best when your best is needed. And he did that in a big way in a state final.
Yeah, Tony, I know you love the teamwork displayed by this Corona Centennial team, and I know you wanted some thoughts from the coach about that, right, Tony?
Yeah, Josh, when we did your Bishop Montgomery game, and I asked you about, your success and the culture of everything, and it's that old adage, it's amazing how good you can be when nobody cares who gets the credit. When you play a team, and I'm not, downplaying Sierra Canyon, but you've got these guys, a lot of guys are new every year. They got guys leaving, guys coming in. But you guys have stayed the same. Do you talk about that at all during a game? Like when you go up 9-0 on Sierra Canyon hey guys, we're together. They may be fractured a little bit. Does that ever come into the conversations?
Maybe a little bit, more so maybe in like that state championship game in that last 3 minutes. We talked about it. My assistant coach, Shannon Sharp, he said it a couple times during the timeout. He was like, hey, we're built for this. This is what we do. We finish games. We come through in the clutch. This is what we do. And, so we'll talk about it that way. As far as, for us, maybe comparing it to a Sierra Canyon, I think it's just, it might be, this might sound weird. I feel like it might be actually a little bit easier for us because, there isn't, 11 to 13 Division I players on the team. We don't have that, so maybe it's a little bit easier to find that cohesiveness because we know night in and night out who we're going to rely on. It doesn't necessarily, change that drastically from game to game. Now we do have that from game to game. Like, in that Sierra Canyon game, Ramsey Huff was phenomenal. And then, we've had other games where Devin Williams or Aaron McBride, and obviously Jared and Donnie are pretty good at what they do. So, we've had that, but I think, our core never changes. And because of that, I think it helps you kind of gain some stability.
Your core has given you great notoriety. And I know there's been chatter recently comparing you to Chino Hills 2 years back when they had the Ball brothers and others, and were considered maybe the greatest team ever in the state of California. But there are those who believe that your team at Corona Centennial this year would have a true shot. So, Giles, you're the meticulous coach of these Huskies. Could you have knocked off that team with you running the show with your Huskies?
I'm probably the wrong guy to ask that because I always feel going into every game that we're going to lose. I'm always like, before the game, I'm over there sitting in the corner, like thinking we're going to lose every game. So I'm probably the wrong guy to ask. I think that Chino Hills game team was so phenomenal in what they did. 3 top 5, picks in the NBA draft. You have Lonzo Ball, who was absolutely incredible in high school. I mean, he was so they played in our tournament every year, and up until his senior year, we had played against them, I believe, 4 times. His freshman, sophomore, and junior year, we had played against them 4 times, and they were always in our tournament, our Battle Zone tournament that we had at the time. So, I would probably see them maybe 4 to 6 times a season, and he made plays that were just like, I haven't seen him since. Lonzo was absolutely special. And then when, as Big O got older, he was just such a specimen that, they beat us his senior year. So Lonzo was gone. All the Ball brothers were gone, and we played them in, I want to say the quarterfinals his senior year. And I remember he had 24 points and 14 rebounds, 7 blocks. And I was like going off on my team about it because that was the first half. That's what he had in the first half. And it was just like, and then afterwards, like, I'm screaming and yelling at these guys, like, we got to box them out. And then the team left and they went outside, and I looked at my assistants. I'm like, we have no chance in hell of boxing this guy out. He's going to finish with 40 and 20. He was just he was so physically dominant. He was so good. There's some things that I would like to hope that we would have been able to take away from them. I know how they used to pressure and stuff like that. And Donnie's a tough kid to pressure. They were so committed to getting up and down the floor. But a kid like Jared McCain, if you're going to leave him open, he's going to make some shots. I think that's a tough game for anybody to win. But I would like to think that we would have, kept it close and made it interesting down the stretch. But that's a tough ask. That's a generational team.
Yeah, Connor, do you think Sierra Canyon would play with those 2 teams, or is it the 2 teams we just talked about, the 2 best ever in the state of California?
Which Sierra Canyon? This year's? I don't think this year's would hang with.
No, their championship teams.
I don't know. I think those Chino Hills teams, you're right, as we go into the future more and more, it's so hard to compete with teams or a team who has 3 lottery picks like that. And don't forget too, Jello Ball played in the G League and it was really good. And Eli Scott, so good at LMU. So even beyond those 3 guys, to me, that's a generational team. and I think it could be a tough ask. But I'd certainly give Corona Centennial a shot. I think I'd probably rank Chino Hills 1, Corona Centennial 2, and then at least the teams that I've seen, that Sierra Canyon, this year's Corona Centennial team 2, and then that Sierra Canyon team with Zaire Williams, BJ Boston, and a younger Amari Bailey, probably 3. But all 3 of those teams were really, really impressive, and it would be great to get those matchups. Unfortunately, that won't ever happen.
Tony Moskal, I know you have a further question for the coach of Corona.
Yeah, Josh, you've had so much success. Matt Logan has had tremendous amounts of success there. How much do you guys talk to each other about culture, about how to practice and how to run programs?
In all honesty, I mean, Matt Logan's probably my best friend on the campus. I mean, we talk every single day, and it's funny. We truly do root for each other. I'll make fun of him a little bit. He's a little bit older than I am, so he's kind of a mentor type to me. I feel like I'll go to him for a lot of stuff and ask him his advice and things like that. And we definitely talk about different things, but like I said, I see him every day, and he's one of the first guys to congratulate me when we have a big win. And I saw him on Monday, and he comes up to me, he's like, "Dude, that was awesome." And he's giving big high five and a hug and stuff like that. And, when he's got a big football game, you'll see it. I'm, down by the one end zone. And if they're close, I'm like looking down the sideline, telling them like, "You got this far for a touchdown. You got this far for, first down." So like, we're, I think that it's kind of a unique situation, because I don't know if that happens at every high school, but like, I truly root for our football team. I want them to have success. It's good for the school when they have success. It's good for the culture and the climate of our school. And I feel like he feels the same way about our basketball team. He's at our games, and there's been times where like he'll let the other team into the locker room, and then we'll be walking by, and he'll be like, "Man, they're breathing hard, coach. I think you guys got them. I think they look tired to me." So like, it's truly like a friendship. I consider him a friend. We talk about other things. We hang out outside of school. We've had a couple times where my daughter's had softball games, and she has to play down in Huntington Beach, and he lives down there, and we'll spend the night at his house because the field is like 5 minutes from his house. So it beats the heck out of fighting Corona traffic trying to get down to Huntington Beach. So we'll do things like that. Just he's had the utmost success. I think he's the best football coach, probably the best coach period in the state. So to have him around and be able to bump ideas off of him is definitely helpful for me. It helps our program too.
Coach, I'll get you out of here with this one, and we'll talk about Damien basketball. Damien won the D1 state title over Clovis North, 65-57, and Mike LeDuc, after 42 years, finally won a state title. He also was the coach at Glendora at one point, and you played for him at Glendora. I know it had to be meaningful for you to see Mike LeDuc the same weekend win a state title as you won a state title.
Yeah, and it was. We had a good conversation on the phone. We exchanged some text messages, and he's hilarious. He had some great one-liners for us during our little text exchange that we had going on. But that's super exciting, and it is pretty cool that we were both able to get that done on the same weekend up in Sacramento. Both getting our first state championships. I mean, that's kind of like, a little icing on the cake for it.
Well, Coach, congratulations. I'm sure you're going to be great again next year. You still have to replace Donovan Dent, but I think you'll have the horses to make a great run at a third straight CIF Southern Section title and maybe another state open division title as well. Thanks, Coach.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it, fellas. Thanks for having me.
All right. That's head coach Josh Giles of Corona Centennial. And Connor, you heard him. He thinks he's always the underdog, and I think that kind of coaching style helps his team. He gets his teams to really go hard and play with great unity.
He does, and if we had more time with Josh, I would have asked him if he had some time to reflect on the fact that heading into that Modesto State Championship game, every playoff game that Corona Centennial won, they won by 20 or more points. And in the open division pool play era, that hasn't happened ever. And that started in 2019, so it's not the biggest sample size. But really, in the upper division, beating every playoff team besides one in that state championship by 20 or more, absolutely unheard of. So I understand he has to think he's the underdog heading into every game. That's just the way his mind works. I get it. But when you're beating teams at a clip like that, I'd be a little bit more confident, I guess. But that's why I'm not coaching.
Yeah, coach is back.
Okay.
All right. Well,
I can talk about this team all night, man. We can stay here and do this all night. I love this team.
All right. Well, we'll probably go over our 9:30 time slot, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, Connor just said he wanted to know about you.
Yeah.
Everyone out. So that was quite a remarkable achievement, winning all those games by 20 or more before Modesto Christian. Your thoughts on that run?
Yeah, I mean, we played about as good as you can possibly play, and I know that I think somebody mentioned it earlier. You know how we started off that Sierra Canyon game on that 9-0 run where we just came in and we were throwing in threes from everywhere. You know, that was, you know, the just the focus and the attention to detail. Like, I don't think we had a bad practice for the last 2 months. You know, just everybody was so dialed in, and when we got to the game, it was kind of. I'm not saying like easy, like the opponent was easy. I'm just saying like it was easy in the fact that we had been, you know, we had prepared ourselves so well. All we had to do was go play.
It's good. We got overtime with the coach, Josh Giles. So I'll kick it back over to Tony Moskal. I know you're never shy about asking the question to the coach.
Yeah, Josh, I want to know, when you're down on the 5-yard line for Matt and it's a December game, are you wearing shorts like he does?
Oh, heck no. I'll tell you what, like he's in shorts and t-shirts at school too when it's like 40 degrees outside. I don't know how he does it. Like I've seen him before walking around campus. He's in shorts and a t-shirt, and I'll have a beanie on out at my PE class and a hoodie. I don't know how he does it. He's an animal.
Coach, how are you going to replace Donovan Dent? Who's going to bring the ball up for you next year? And why is he going to be a capable guy, whoever that guy is?
You know, first off, I don't think you ever replace somebody like a Donovan Dent. And, you know, next year I'll be saying the same thing about a Jared McCain, a Devin Williams, and Aaron McBride. I think that we've been very fortunate over my time at Centennial that we've had some guys that are just really hard to replace. And they're so bought in, and they truly buy into the culture of what we're trying to do. And I'm a big believer in culture, and our guys really, really do a good job of buying into it. So I don't know who's going to replace him yet, but I do know that is going to be one heck of a tough job because, you know, it's still kind of fresh right now. Talking about Donovan and talking about Ramsey's really difficult right now. It's really hard to have conversations about them because they were so special to me. They were so special to this program. Their leadership and, you know, just everything about them, the toughness, the work ethic, you know, just unbelievable kids too. Like, and that was the thing, like, our admin, we were talking about it after the game when we went back to the hotel after we had won state, and they're like, you know, the best thing about this team is every single one of them they're just great kids. Like, they're truly good kids. And, you know, it's just really hard. But yeah, the two seniors we had this year were, you know, they were extra special.
Connor,
you have a question for the coach?
I do. I know it's never good to lose a game, but did losing to Duncanville, did that help your group get focused? And as a follow-up, how bad do you wish you went undefeated? I'm sure you wish you really did, but did that game help you to launch an incredible season? Take me through the one game that didn't go your way this year.
No, I think that's a great question. And I think that we would not be 33-1 if we had not lost to Duncanville. Like, I'm saying we would have had a heck of a lot more than one loss. Like, you know, losing that game, the way in which we did lose it, I think was a huge eye-opener for some of the guys. You know, when we got back home from Texas and we put that film on, and you have to watch it, film doesn't lie. And there was only like 2 or 3 times all year. I'm not a big film guy. I'm really not. I don't ever show the other team. I don't ever show the other team on film. We only watch us. And, you know, there's my own psycho reasons for doing that, but we only watch ourselves. We don't watch the other team. And when we're preparing and we're doing that stuff, I think we learn a lot more from our own mistakes. And then we also learn from when we do things right. We played about as poorly as you could possibly play on the defensive end against Duncanville. It was as bad can be. And it was just defensive breakdown after defensive breakdown, dunk, offensive rebound. And we're sitting there and we're watching it, and guys are just getting ripped. Jared's getting hollered at. Donnie's getting hollered at. Everybody was getting it because everybody was in their own special way, awful at times. And that's just the honest truth. So when it was over, I'm like, we just played this bad and lost by 5 to the number 1 ranked team in the country. What does that make us? And everybody just kind of sat around and we were just kind of like, well, what does that mean? That's the best team in the country. We played horrific and we lost by 5. And we had the ball in the last 90 seconds twice with an opportunity to tie it. And we screwed that up too. So it was like, if we can play this bad and we're losing by 5 to the number 1 ranked team in the country, what are we then? And I think that carried on throughout the year because, guys, it was kind of like a wake-up call. Like, well, one, we can't just show up and beat anybody. We have to outwork you. And, I think that doesn't, that doesn't make you any worse. Like, they don't put an asterisk next to it. Like, Corona Centennial won a lot of games, but you know what? They had to work really hard to do it. There is none of that stuff. So it was like, hey, we have to work hard to beat you. But when we work hard and we do things right, this is what we could be. And I think that carried on a lot throughout the season for us. So I think losing to Duncanville, yes, I would love to have that opportunity to play them again. But in the long run, it was the best thing that happened to us.
Tony, one last question for the coach.
Josh, we talked about chemistry and the 4-year guys and the 3-year guys. So during a game when you're dealing with adversity, how comfortable are you just kind of sitting there and letting those guys figure it out and show their senior leadership or their junior leadership?
Yeah, another great question. I think there's 2 things with that. I think one, that's why I don't call a lot of timeouts. If anybody really watches our game, usually I have a ton of timeouts at the end of the game, which I prefer because I feel like during the course of the game, if we're not like boxing out or something like that, what am I going to do? Call a timeout to tell you to box out? I can just yell that from the sideline, So I think that I don't call a lot of timeouts because I trust them that the stuff and the things that we do over the course of the week, getting prepared for the game, is that'll carry them through. And then when you spoke about with the 3 and the 4-year guys, again, you look at Donovan Dent. Donovan Dent is the 2-time right now. He's the 2-time Open Division Player of the Year. And I know Eric Sodenheimer just put a tweet about it, which I thought was pretty cool of him to put it out there. Donnie played on my freshman team. His freshman year, he was on the freshman team. So we have those 3 and 4-year guys. Ramsey was on the freshman team too. Him and Donnie were on the same freshman team together their freshman year. So it was like, you get these guys and they just kind of buy into this whole culture. And when you have people for 3 to 4 years, I think the biggest thing, Tony, with that is you develop relationships with them.
Yeah.
And so when I do get upset at the team, or if I do get upset with a player about something, they know it's never, ever personal. It's never personal. I just want you to play better. And they know that I have their best interests at heart. All we want to do is win. It's not like me versus the team or my coaches versus the team. It's us together as a team trying to outplay the other team. So I think it allows you as a coach and as a program to develop relationships with these kids that there's trust both ways. I trust them that they're going to do it, and they trust me that I'm going to help them put them in a position of success.
Well, Coach, again, thank you very much for the visit tonight. We got bonus time with you, and we sincerely appreciate it. And best of luck again next season.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, Josh. One quick last comment. How good was Corona Centennial in 30 seconds this year? How good were they?
Exceptional. The gold standard, undefeated against California. They were exceptional this season. That's all I can say.
Tony, I know you'll have more to say because you have that great big personality. How good were the Huskies?
It's just a complete team. You talk about they've got big men, they've got every position, they defend, they score, they do everything so well. But for me, it always boils down to they've got great chemistry, They work very well together, and they trust each other.
Yeah, they were just a terrific team, and they end the year on a 30-game winning streak, which is a school record at Corona Centennial. And I think that really says it all. And I thought it was interesting, guys, and I know we have to leave, but what he said about the game against Duncanville, that they played so poorly and only lost by 5 points and had a chance. And really, if you look at it, had they won that game, they would have been the national champion. So it'll give them a little bit of a goal next year when they bring back McCain and Bride and Williams and some of the other great players from that team. That's going to be another great team at Corona Centennial. They will be very good. You know, I had 2 pages of notes here to talk about all the other teams in the state, all the girls' games, softball, baseball, all the things that are going on right now in prep sports. But Josh Giles was so good, we had to let him go and talk to him for an additional 10 to 12 minutes. And we thank him. That was a great look, great insight into a great program at Corona Centennial. The Huskies, the state champions. Well, again, we want to thank Tony Moskal and, of course, Connor Morrissette from Scorebook Live. Yeah, he does a great job at Scorebook Live. He does wonderful articles on all the different divisions and all the different sides, whether it's the southern section or the city section. Connor, thank you. Tony, thank you. Thank you at home. We'll be back again next Thursday night at 9 p.m. I'm Randy Rosenbloom. That's it for now. We'll see you next week on LA 36.